Welcome to the revolution.
And this is the crucial part of our philosophical reflection we have today. Can we therefore conclude that humans are concerned more with having than being?
Inshallah, family, maktub. So it is written, so shall it be. Hey everybody, welcome to the Revolution Podcast. Blessing y'all up, bless your life. Stoked for you to be here. This is another episode of pure masculine goodness. Another brother I met through Sacred Sons, another brother that I look up to and really am inspired by. His power and his clarity and his wisdom, and that is Stefanos Sifandos. And he is a legend. Some of you might know Stefanos. He's got a pretty big following, and I really see him as a pillar in the new masculine movement, certainly in the circles I run in, and I think worldwide. I mean, the man is a legend. He's a coach. He is a trauma-informed, masculine, feminine, relational alchemist. He's all about inner child healing, sacred sexuality, shadow work, and everything in between. And I'm really excited to bring you an episode with Steph. This man is just, he's done the work, and it shows because of his level of experience and level of articulation with some of this stuff is deep. So if you're in a relationship or want to be in a relationship, this episode's for you. This is all about masculine polarity. How do you hold the masculine? This is for men with a core masculine essence, and this is for women with a core feminine essence. We're gonna break that down. What does that even mean? And really, this episode is gonna set the record straight for some of you that this is probably one of the most asked questions I ever get. This is a perspective on, well, what do you mean feminine essence? Like, I'm a woman and I have a lot of masculine energy. Okay, great. Or as a man, it's like, what do you mean core masculine? I have both and they're equal and I express both equally. It's like, okay, great. People ask this all the time. There seems to be a lot of confusion. This is the episode to listen to. The way Steph breaks it down, the way we riff about it, the way we open and explore these areas with real examples and tons of the training Steph has gone through and his perspective on this. I trust it. It makes sense. It vibrates with me at a level beyond the mind and like, 1 + 1 = 2. This is some really core stuff. So Steph is a mega resource for this, and you're gonna love this episode. I know this one is one of the ones that has been the most asked about, especially for women who want to call in a strong man. We're all the strong men, right? And for men who want to understand how to really lean in with desire and mastery in the sexual space, in the dating space, in the relational space. Let's get into it. Here's Steph and I.
Hey.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Revolution Podcast. I'm excited about this one. My guest is Steph. Stefanos is a dear brother and an epic pillar of divine masculinity, what I would name just a stand-up coach, businessman, a mentor, and an epic content creator who you may have seen just dropping bombs on relationship, health, wealth, and happiness. And yeah, I'm excited for this one, Steph. Welcome.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, brother. I'm super excited to be on this pod with you.
Yes. Wow. And I mean, we've been running in some of the same scenes in the Encinitas North County crew. And, we met in person and really got shoulder to shoulder in the thick of it during Sacred Sons, of course.
Yeah. That was a good experience, man. It's always, I think it's something very special that we get to share. And it's maybe a little bit difficult to translate to others what it actually means, but doing that shadow work and serving in that way and doing that side by side there's a unity that takes place, man. The trust that I developed with you over those few hours that we were doing that and more, those couple of days it's something that can't be really described.
Totally. It's the intense experience that is bonding beyond words, right?
Yeah.
This is a lot of men describe, sports, war, shadow work, whatever it is. This is what happens. So
yeah,
I definitely feel that from you, brother. And I just kind of want to jump right into some of your philosophies, your life experiences, and usually what I do on this podcast is like go into people's backstory, the hero's journey. But with you, I just feel like, you know, there's so much more that wants to live. If your story is relevant, I'd love for you to share. But I want to go straight into, you know, one of the topics that I know we spoke about at Sacred Sons that's not PC and is not for snowflakes. And that's polarity, straight up masculine, feminine polarity, and being in a masculine and feminine body. You know, I want to invite everyone to situate themselves in this podcast, locate yourself in the conversation. But what does that mean to you, Steph, in 2020?
Man, what I've witnessed, what I continue to witness, and what I see is that there is this, and we don't like this word, natural. There
Yep.
seems to be we're fucking scared of it because it's well, we can't say that. We can't say this word natural because we're putting ourselves in a category. We're boxing ourselves in.
Sure.
There seems to be this natural expression. So we have core essences. For me, masculinity and femininity is simply a contrasted expressive state. And if we, I look at the work of Michaela Boehm, who's been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years. She uses the terms do energy and go energy for the masculine, and she uses the terms be energy and flow energy for the feminine. And I sort of want to add to that. There's an exclusivity that comes with masculine energy and an inclusivity that comes with feminine energy. And this is sort of how we function in the world. Now, you can have a core essence of femininity and be in a male body, and you can have a core essence of
Right.
masculinity and be in a feminine body. However, what I'm witnessing and what I'm seeing is that there is a more natural propensity for a woman to carry a core essence of femininity and for a man to carry a core essence of masculinity. And when that happens in a healthy, balanced way, in other words, because these energies reside within all of us, but when that happens
Right.
in a more in a healthy, balanced way, and you're staying true, remaining true to your natural core essence, natural not implying that you're born with it. Natural to me is more implying that in the subtleties of our experience, in the minutiae of our experience when we're born and maybe when we're in the womb, in the earliest of our experiences, we develop this way of being in the world that we lean towards. And it's this
Right.
contrast, right? And I think and because of culture, because of environment, because of shit that I have no fucking idea about, and most of us don't, right? And there's
Yeah.
so much we don't know that we develop this core essence. And I see when a man is in his healthy masculine core essence, and that's his primary expression in the world, he's a healthier human being. And the same thing is for
Bingo.
women. So we stop wearing these masks upon mask upon mask upon mask that hides us. Again, that doesn't mean, I'm not saying this to be PC, I want to be very clear, that just doesn't mean that we don't carry feminine energy as a man. It just
Totally.
means that our core primary essence of how we express and are in the world is masculine.
Yes. This is why I wanted to talk to you about this, because the way you express it is like, boom, it just lands, and it lands for me. And I've been searching for new ways to articulate it because I'm kind of tired of repeating myself. It's probably the number one question I get. The more I do this work of the masculine, the men's work, and share about it, talk about it, because it excites me and it's important, the more women I see more often get really upset because they're like, we have masculine energy too. And it's like, yes, I mentioned that. But one way I've heard it expressed that I really like, and this is kind of from the Taoist Tantra, is like, you know, a man aware of his inner yin presents yang. And that's the power of having a masculine core essence. You can still be aware of the feminine essence,
Yes, I
but you
love that,
present
man.
it. You present
Oh,
the yang, right? And it's like, duh. It's natural, right? It's core evolutionary type shit.
yeah, well, well, that's a big part of it. I think it's not the only part, but it's definitely a part of it. I want to come back to the yin yang for a second because this is important. And people come to me, women come to me, they say, how can I get my man more in his feminine? Men come to me and say, I want to be more in my feminine. And I say, I don't think that's the right question to ask. I think the right
Yeah.
question to ask is how can you cultivate a healthier sense of your core essence? And if that's for you masculinity, if you develop that, you will naturally then bring that femininity into the world in a healthier way as well. And that
Right.
to me is super, super powerful.
Yes, I love that. And you know, I think it's amazing with the rise of the divine feminine, with this massive awakening we're in. For men, it does involve awakening to a feminine essence, and that,
Yeah.
yes, please do that. Like you said, the be and the flow. It's
Yeah.
me and flow, right? And
Yeah.
that's important. A lot of men have had that so suppressed. And this is the toxic side, right? The shadow side. So many men have been so repressed and suppressed in the feminine essence that when it bursts through the pavement, yeah, it's ugly, it's big, or it's really intense. Like all I
At the
want to
beginning, yeah.
do is me time. All I want to do is flow. No more structure. The pendulum is just like whoosh with all these men,
Boom.
and it's like,
Mm.
yeah. And then the women at first, it's like, oh, finally he's showing emotion. Finally he feels. But then after a while, what happens? The
It's too
magnetism,
much.
the eroticism, it's way too much. It's way
Yep.
too much.
When we're talking about polarity, brother, we're talking about attraction dynamics, and essentially we're talking about sexuality.
Yeah.
Now, whether we like it or not, sexuality is driven by our evolution. It's driven by biology. It's driven by our psychology. It's driven by our need to connect, our intimacy, our emotions, our relationality with others. It's driven by our culture that evolves and grows and changes, transmutes itself over time. There's all of these factors and layers that impact who we are. And so the truth of it is, if you've got two masculine core essences coming into each other, it's just there's no magnetism there. There's none of this that's happening. There's no merging. We need
Right.
the feminine and masculine poles to merge, and so that happens when we step into that power. Now, it's a momentary thing as well. I always say that it's not about, oh, your core essence is masculine, therefore for the rest of your life you're going to be masculine. I think the
Right.
wisdom in understanding polarity and contrast dynamic comes in, what do I need to be now? What does the situation call for now? What do I want to bring forth into the world now in this moment? Because the next moment can be a little bit different. Maybe the next moment you need a little bit more flow.
Right.
You need less go, you need more flow. Maybe in this moment you need more of that directed energy. You need to be more in your mission. You need to be more clear on where you stand. You need to be more vertical in your discernment. And other times maybe you need to be more compassionate, more empathetic, more connecting. Maybe in that moment you need to prioritize the relationship a little bit more, because the feminine essence does that. It prioritizes giving and receiving love, whereas the masculine energy prioritizes giving its mission into the world, being in that presence. And
Yes.
so again, that doesn't mean a woman can't be mission driven. It doesn't mean as a female you can't be that in the world. However, if you're taking that energy, if you're heterosexual, you're taking that energy into your intimate relationship, your man is either going to be hyper feminine in his contrasted expression, or he can't meet you there because it's two masculine energies coming together. And so we have to make decisions about how we are in what scenarios in life. And so I think when it comes to intimacy and attraction and love and sharing in that way, and sexual polarity, we have to assume what our core essence is and meet each other there. And there's something really beautiful that happens when we're in harmony. I mean, you know it.
Oh
You
yeah.
know it in your relationships.
Oh yeah. It's unspeakable intimacy, eroticism. It's spontaneous, it's not contrived, and it's highly sensual and exciting, and it's what we live for. As a man, I can say and speak this to probably many men, the hunt, and this isn't like predator prey, but it's like the seeking and the excitement.
Mm,
It's so satisfying and epic. And then when you have it cultivated over time and commitment, and there's the building intimacy, I mean, there's nothing like it. And I think any man who's being honest with himself desires that. Now, what's required to both create and maintain such a polarity is, yeah, navigating this, as you said, moment to moment. Because like you, I know, being in partnership with a queen, especially a business
mm,
queen who's an entrepreneur
mm,
as well, we have a
mm.
whole nother level of the dance, right? You've added a
Yeah.
whole nother bunch of layers. This isn't 1950s housewife, stay-at-home mom. This isn't, tribal hunter-gatherer even. This is a whole nother dimension. And I feel like a lot of some of my best clients, actually, as I'm sure with you, and a lot of my following are highly powered, just like take no prisoners, Kali Durga female entrepreneurs. And I'm
Yeah.
and I'm curious, Steph, you being, I know, in partnership with one and
Mm,
serving a ton as well. What's
mm.
some of the breakdown there for these women that are like, there's no men that can meet me, or, I come home and I'm in full power and then he doesn't want to have sex. It's like, there's a lot there.
Yeah, there is, man. And so I think if we come from a premise and a model of reality, but there are no men that can meet me, well then guess what? We're just going to keep seeking. We're going to keep seeing that.
Bingo.
It's the beta Meinhof effect. It's if you keep thinking of a blue BMW, you'll see a lot of them out there the street.
Yeah.
And so it's the way that our attentive faculties and the way our pattern recognition, the pattern recognizing elements of our brain begin to draw what we're thinking into our reality. And so we have to cut that. Maybe we're all growing in different ways and we're starting to now unify as a global community like we probably haven't before for various reasons, right? And
Sure.
maybe focusing on the growth that we're attaining is probably going to be better. For me, though, at the beginning of our relationship with Christine and I, it was challenging, man. I'm not going to lie to you. Like
Yeah.
she brought that fierce energy, which is something that I'm very attracted to in her as well. She brought that into our intimacy, and it was very difficult for me, especially me still having unhealthy aspects of my own masculinity. I wanted to fight. That's how I felt. I thought
Right.
to myself, well, you're not going to out masculine me. These are the conversations that we would have, and it was really challenging at the beginning. And then when we started to shift, we started to give awareness and truth to the conversation. We started to see each other and ourselves differently. She started to bring a very different energy. Simple things like transitioning from her work day into the evening,
Mm.
having a very deliberate practice of transitioning where she would soften into her own self and move into this nurturing, compassionate place. Not that she wasn't that during the day, of course she
Sure.
was, but the energy was more directed, it was more driven, it was more ambitious, it was more goal orientated. So we moved into this state of how can we step into empowerment in the presence? What could I do to serve my queen and see her for who she is, and also not see her during the day being this badass businesswoman doing what she was doing in the world, this business person? How could I see her differently? So I had my own practices as well. And so we came to realization that these conflicting energies were actually repelling us. And
Mm.
it had less to do with sex and more to do with the attraction of wanting to be in each other's space. So I thought to myself, I don't want to be in a space with another man. I don't want that. And I then started being hyper aggressive. I started stepping into unhealthy expressions of masculinity because I was coming from old wounding. So my work was to know that there's a different way to come at this, to step into deeper levels of compassion and step into deeper levels of empathy and understanding. And that was my work. And so for me, I had to sort of yin my yang a little bit. So my friend
Yeah.
says this, he says, you got to Buddha your alpha a little bit, or sometimes you need to alpha your Buddha a little bit, right?
Right.
And it's an interesting term. And so I had to come to terms with that. I had to sort of understand that. And then we started dancing that attraction and polarity. And that was beautiful.
Yes. Yes. I love you shared that. And I can resonate with like 95% of what you're saying because yeah, two alphas don't do well together, right?
No,
Like, and
no.
they can't co-work, they can't communicate, and they can't make decisions. That's the big thing. And the classic decision, I was joking about this with some brothers last night, where do you want to go eat, honey? Or what do you want to make for dinner? And it's just like, that's just a little trigger point to invite in all the energy from the day that may have been unresolved. And if it's two alphas trying to have that conversation, well, you might see that escalate, right? Into
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
and
And what
so
generally happens, sorry to interrupt you, Karen, this
go
is a
for
really
it.
interesting point, is I hear that, and tell me if you hear this as well. Women say to me, or whenever I ask a woman, when I say, hey, do you like it when your man says, hey, I'm taking care of dinner, or doesn't really ask you, or, makes certain decisions about logistics, about going out, about socializing. That, you know what they do? They go, oh my God, I love that. I love it. I fucking love that. Oh, I can't, how much they love it, right? And so what does that tell you about certain dynamics? What does that tell us about, when the masculine is leading? Now, that's not to say that a woman can't make a decision about where to eat, but if she's constantly having to make all the decisions in the family, it's very tiring. It's almost quote unquote unnatural. It doesn't feel right. That's why, honestly, I would say 9 point something times out of 10, when I ask that question, a woman says, my God, that is a dream.
Yes. Yes. And the feminine wants to be led. It wants to be contained and held in a vision, a plan, and a decisive action. And for
Yeah.
a man who needs to alpha his Buddha, I love that phrase. And
Yeah.
adopt that one. Some of these new age guys and spiritual guys that I've worked with, they need to alpha it up because the shadow of authentic communication on the excessive side is checking in about everything, communicating about everything, making everything equal, making everything unanimous. is just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't, you can conceptualize about that, but in actuality and experience, show me a relationship that works that way. It's just, it's never going to happen in my humble experience of 30 years.
Yeah, yeah. I think Kevin, what we're actually pursuing is equity, not equality. We're not made equal.
Good
Our
distinction.
hormonal profiling is different. Our brains are a little bit different. Our physicality is different. What we experience in the transition, cultural, environmental, biophysical transitions that we experience in life are different. It's okay to be different. We need to learn to celebrate these differences. It's not the end of the world. It's also this notion of equity is more like, okay, I think we need fair and equitable access to resources. I think we need equitable voice in the community. That's different to equality. We're not equal, and it's okay that we're not equal. Can we celebrate our differences, and can we celebrate our sameness? That's a very important thing that we need to start really focusing on.
Yes, I love that. Equity over equality. This is also an apolitical discussion. We're talking about the real dynamics of a man and woman and polarity, masculine, feminine, core essences in attraction and polarity and relationship. And this is a hot topic right now, especially with um, you know new paradigm shifting around masculinity itself. And that's what I want to pivot into, Steph, because I know, you're one of the tips of the spear. You're in this field. You've been in it for a while. I know you've been doing your relationship alchemy, speaking, trainings, mentorships. Like it's been going. So you have I feel like you have a strong pulse on the culture and like what you're seeing with men in particular. And I know now in Sacred Sons, this is a whole new game, evolving some of the work that the Mankind Project and the Mythopoetic, some of the men's work in the 80s, it didn't really take root. Now we're seeing a new face. And I'm curious if you can comment on some of the trends you're noticing.
Mm. Thanks, brother. What I'm noticing, what I'm seeing is, particularly in America, I'm very blessed that I have this access to. I've been to so many different places and lived in a few different areas. And what I'm seeing in the US, I'm seeing what you mentioned before about these males probably needing to alpha their Buddha a little bit more and needing to come out of that passivity. And maybe it's come from fear, maybe it's come from the various waves of the feminist movements that have maybe suppressed some of that authentic, healthy masculine expression. Maybe it's fear in gender politics and just in the general socioeconomic and political scene. There are many factors that feed into this. And so now, not necessarily the right time to go into it. However, what I'm seeing in Australia is that men are more aggressive and need to probably come into greater levels of peace and connection to themselves. Here in the US, where I now very gratefully reside, I'm seeing men need to step more into their power. And that's
Mm,
what I'm hearing women ask for. And so I'm thinking, and what I'm witnessing is that men need to learn to step more into their power, to step more into their authority, not in an autocratic or controlling or oppressive way. That's unhealthy shadow behavior.
yeah.
More so that they're taking autonomy and responsibility for who they are, sovereignty and self-reliance for who they are. That for me is stepping into the next wave of healthy masculinity, but it's really just bringing the old into where we are now. It's
Oh yeah.
reviving it, essentially. And so that doesn't mean that we throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, we can't still maintain some level of passivity or some level of compassion and empathy and love and care and integrity in our word and all of that. Of course we can. We don't have to be these rough men that have no consideration for any other human being. We're relational beings. We thrive in tribe and community. We have to consider others. It's part of who we are. It's part of how we grow. It's part of how we develop in the world.
Mm,
It's not losing ourselves at the sake of another aspect of ourselves. And so when
right.
I'm saying that we have to step into greater autonomy and self-responsibility, it's knowing that we don't have to minimize our voices. It's knowing that we have to heal our past wounds and our childhoods. So many men, brother, I'm just going to mention this rite of passage movement, and I
Yes.
say this often, but I think it's such an important piece. Females have a very distinct biological rite of passage. That is their
Yes.
moon cycle, menstrual cycle. And it overtly states you're a girl and now you're moving into womanhood. These are really the beginning stages of that.
Right.
Men don't have that, and therefore men have to rely on cultural rites of passages. Now,
Right.
in order to really have healthy cultural rites of passages as men, we need other men, fathers, brothers, uncles, tribesmen, friends of our fathers. We need that. And we don't have that. For generations, we've been missing that. And so, what boys will do is create their own rites of passage because of their father wounding, because they're seeking additional approval, because they want to be seen by their fathers. Generally, boys, especially at that age of 11 to 14, are going through massive hormonal changes. So they're extreme in their expression. So they think to themselves, "Fuck, if I do this really extreme thing, I'll get my father's attention. I'll get his
Yeah.
love. I'll get his approval. I'll get his validation." And so we go and take ourselves through these extreme rites of passage to demonstrate our ableness, our worth, our validity in the world. And over time, those expressions become habits and they become the norm. And we become unhealthy and extreme in our expression. And we distance ourselves more from what we actually want. And so we seek more love, yet we're distancing ourselves from love. And then we bring that into our adult relationships. And it's a topsy-turvy adult relationship world that we're living in.
Yeah.
And so the work for men now is really clearing up. And you know this, we serve together in this way, is clearing up their past. And let's be honest, one session of shadow work, of somatic visceral shadow work, is not going to quote unquote fix you, but it's a
No.
starting point. And we need to be repetitive. Consistency is everything in life. You know that
Yeah.
if you didn't show up in your business consistently, you wouldn't have one. If you didn't
Yeah.
show up in your relationship consistently, you would be unsafe. And so consistency is everything when it comes to growth. And so really the next focus for men, from my perspective, is clearing up our past. And there's a lot of torment and pain and shadow and shit there that we need to start taking responsibility for, stop blaming, shaming, and projecting for, take ownership for, step into it and heal with our brothers, because we need to be witnessed by other men. We have to.
Yes, yes. Thank you. You just jumped into where I wanted to take this, the return of the rite of passage, the archetype of initiation. Thank you, brother, for bringing that up. I mean, this is the deep stuff, right? This is like, and you nailed it. It's consistent, small at first. You can have a
Mm,
big action, like the kind of shadow work, the gestalt work that we got the privilege to do together at Sacred Sons. I mean,
mm,
this is huge. It's a huge boulder that gets moved. But for some
mm,
of these men, there's an avalanche of shit in the way. And so you're going to have to move more of that debris, and you're going to have to unblock and unfuck yourself essentially. Right. And so, you know, the consistent small actions, I think a lot of men listening to this and the women that are in relationship with them really need to hear and get to hear that it's those small, consistent actions. How do you take ownership in your daily life in little things, maybe a lot of your life is spent, paying the bills or doing XYZ and fulfilling responsibilities. That's fine. It's like language, I feel like, is the front line, right? And really the inner
mm,
world, if you want to Buddha your alpha, is meditation.
mm,
It's in the stillness that you start to witness these things, but it shows up in our thinking and our language. So I notice with a lot of men, it's retraining how they speak about themselves, how they speak about
mm,
other men and women, and then how that translates into their actions and deeds.
mm,
I'm
mm,
curious for you, Steph, if you're working with a man, right, and he's on this path, what's the basic core, like, small consistencies you would
mm.
invite?
Yeah, I want to invite that man to begin to be self-reflective. At the end of every day, just sit with yourself. Just be. We don't. We're not with ourselves anymore, Kev. We don't. We're so scared of being alone with ourselves. We're so quick to distract ourselves, whether it's with, with porn, whether it's alcohol, whether it's excessive socialization, whether it's excessive television,
Mm,
whether it's busying ourselves in our work. And I'll go get it. If you're not working, then you may as well be dead. And this entrepreneurial mindset that it's, work 23 hours a day.
yeah.
I mean, I'm all for hard work, man. And sometimes I burn it at both ends. Don't get me wrong, but that's imbalanced. That's not sustainable. And so I say to men, I want you to spend 5 to 10 minutes, just 5 to 10 minutes of a 24-hour period, being reflective and just asking yourself some key questions, such as, was I on point today? Could I have done life differently? That argument that I had, could I have shown up differently? Was I triggered today? Did I give enough today? Did I allow
Mm,
myself to receive enough? Was I really on mission and on purpose today? How was my language today? Were my energy levels good? Did I eat enough today? Did I drink enough water? Just being self-reflective, spend
yes.
5 to take ownership and steed of the actions and the experiences that we are having and taking in life. I want to start men there. The next thing I want to say, these are 2 steps, really important, is make sure you've got tribe around you that aligns with who you are and who you want to be, not who the fuck you were.
Right.
Because if you align with people with who you were and who you were doesn't resonate with you, you're just going to keep perpetuating who you were. So in other words, your present self and your future self are your past self, and you're never going to get into an alternative future self because the past keeps permeating the present, and your past and your present makes up your future. And so
Right.
the opportunity is surround yourself, whether it's a meetup group, whether you create your own group, whether it's a men's group, or whether it's Sacred Sons or the Mankind Project or something local in your community, or whether it's your group of friends and you're deliberate in how you get together once a week or once every 2 weeks or once a month, and you share, and your partner's not your fucking therapist,
Bingo.
but we can't project and vomit onto them, because like you said earlier, as we're moving into these different states of expression, sometimes we just want to be in this flow. We just want to be emotive. And men have suppressed so much anger, frustration, violence, sadness, core wounding. I mean, brother, the formal statistics say that basically, 1 in 2 women have been sexually abused or assaulted, and probably 1 out of 3 men have been sexually abused or assaulted. The reality is, I think it's more like probably 80 to 90% of women, and probably 55, 60, 70% of men.
Sure.
There's a lot of trauma that's been repressed, and trauma presents itself in various ways on the spectrum that we haven't been told, we haven't been given permission to express. And so having a supportive network of men that maybe consist of somewhat professionals and somewhat just brothers there holding you and seeing you without judgment, witnessing you without judgment, it's so imperative as we're moving through our transitions and choosing to step into the unknown, because stepping into the unknown is scary. Now, at some point, you've got to take the leap and you've got to do it on your own. But when
Right.
you come back and you return from that quote unquote vision quest, you got to know that there's some brothers there to meet you and see you and witness you in this newness that is you. We need that
Yes.
reflection.
Yes. Well said, brother. That's, for the men out there, grab a Google Doc, grab your notebook, self-reflection, 5
Yep.
to 10 minutes in the evening. I love that practice. The classic 3 questions I was asking myself every day last year. I'm upgrading it this year, but is, what could I have done better today? So where could I have improved? What do I want for tomorrow? So what continuity am I creating? And then what am I just grateful for? Just straight up, like basic things,
Yep.
like fast internet, clean water,
Yep.
food, relationship. Like just keep it on the level, because a lot of people on this planet are living on less than $1 a day, and a lot of other people living with fear in their heart. And we are so blessed, Steph. Like we are just like we're living it, man. We're blessed.
Yeah. I mean, man, I just, when I'm talking about goals and what I spend a lot of my time doing, I spend a lot of my time serving and in business. So, okay, how many metrics, how many people can I serve this month? And, how many clients can I sign up this month and bring them into my sphere and make an impact? And I get to have these types of conversations. What type of practice do I want to engage with my queen to bond and deepen our other people? Their goals are, how can I fucking survive today? Where am I going to get some clean water today? I mean, the level of access to resources, the blessedness that exists in our lives, man. I think just acknowledging that, that's a big thing. That's a great start. Just the gratitude piece is, and I have that piece for myself in the morning, where I have a stillness practice in the morning, and gratitude is part of that. And like you, man, the simple things are everything for me. It's like, wow, this isn't simple. This is amazing. I'm at an Airbnb in San Diego, Encinitas at the moment, North County, San Diego, and we have 180-degree expansive ocean views. And it's a really super cost-effective Airbnb, but it's just so beautiful. It's an old home, but it's just so lovely. And it's like, wow, I get to wake up to that for the next 5 days. Fuck, I'm blessed that I have a roof over my head, man.
Right. And this is an important piece, Steph, because as you know, like we got to get some foundational layers if we're going to grow and rise. And when I get all beat up, and the things I beat myself up about are, wow, I'm not progressing fast enough, or I'm not making enough impact. It's like that critic in me. And one of the fastest ways to baseline for me is like cold water. Just get the fear out of the body, do some breath work, and then boom. I'm so grateful for what I am able to do right now. I can change my state like that. I can hydrate. I can get myself the best nutrition. I can call some of the best people in the world to like just process this with, my brothers. And man, that's everything. It's just establish that baseline. And
Yeah.
on that piece of who can you call, so many men are just isolated. Like all the men,
Took it out
that
of my head.
that shows yeah, right, we're in the zone here. A
Yeah.
lot of those men that show up at these men's retreats are like, where are the men doing this back home, where XYZ small town, New York, Canada, Texas, whatever,
Mm.
and it's like, if you are in a community right now as a man and you don't have 5 men around you that are lifting you up, guess what? You're going to have to self-nominate as a leader. Go and find the brothers that can lift you up. But like we've seen, and it's freaking epic with the sons, is some of these brothers have been empowered to go out and create their own circles, and they're literally creating what they received, that medicine now for brothers in the middle of nowhere, United States.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely, man. And I think there's great healing in that. Okay, you need to step into leadership as a man, then, and you're feeling isolated, that's okay. Then you get to maybe heal a part of you that is amplified in this feeling of isolation as an adult version of you that maybe you didn't get to heal as a child. And by you taking that action, that's part you on the way there in terms of the journey that you're on. And then you get to bring other men into your sphere. And that can be challenging, but strong men weren't made without challenge. The masculine is forged in challenge.
Yes.
Healthy masculinity is forged in difficulty and challenge. That doesn't mean that you have to perpetuate an ideology and life experience of, I have to do life hard all the time. Not at all. However, when you challenge yourself regularly, guess what? For me, that's a tenet of healthy masculinity. No matter what the challenge looks like. Physical challenge is a starting point because it's easily accessible. It's more tangible. The cold
Right.
water, the hot water, the cold water plunge, the hot cold therapy, the going for a long run, lifting heavy weight, being in the wilderness, going on a vision quest, fasting, juice fasting,
Right.
water fasting, whatever. Like, challenge yourself because you're going to learn more about who you are and what you're capable of. That gives you confidence. Don't even let me start on how important confidence is for polarity and
Yep.
contrast and sexual
Oh,
dynamics and attraction.
core.
When you're not confident, what you're essentially demonstrating from an evolutionary point of view, a female brain is interpreting that as, if he's not confident, he's not self-reliant, he doesn't respect himself, he hasn't got discipline, can he actually take care of me? Not that I can't take care of myself, but can he take care of the family dynamic? Can he be present? Can he be attentive? Can he really be here? I don't know if he can. And so that seeds doubt into the female, which repels. And so she
Right.
moves on to who's another appropriate mate. Because whether we like it or not, evolutionary procreation still drives us
It
to some
does.
extent. So we're still having these unconscious ideas and interpretations of what's happening in the world. And confidence for a man is a massive magnet for feminine attraction. Massive.
So true. That confidence. And how do you build confidence? It's not, some abstract, crazy idea. It's the simple things. And yeah, start with the body. Like, let's start with the body. I really buy into, I think it was it's Gates of Fire, the book about the Spartans at Thermopylae. And,
Mm,
the
mm.
Spartans literally believed that phobos, fear in Greek, lives in the body. So if you can put your body through some strenuous experience, and this starts with, lift up a
Yeah, leaving the
kettlebell,
body. Yeah.
get in the ice, breathe, shake, move, whatever. You're gonna move fear out of your body, and then you're like, okay, I can do this. I can physically do it. Forget your bank account and the mates and all that. Now you got some confidence, and then it radiates. It's like this core that radiates, and you start, wow, now I can be confident with how I speak, now how I act, and then it's boom. It just builds momentum. When you're on momentum, you're confident because even if you fuck up, you have momentum, so you can move quick and move with purpose. And yeah, I mean, you nailed it. It's going to start with the body. It's going to start with easily accessible things. What's more accessible than your physicality? It's huge,
Yeah,
brother.
for sure. It's for me, man. It's a great starting point, and it's not. There's no end point to that. I think it's a continuous journey. I
Yeah.
think with the body, with the mind, with the heart, with the soul, with all the aspects, the key aspects of the human condition, the four bodies, the spiritual self, psychological self, emotional self, and physical self at a gross level. I mean, I don't think that work ever stops. I don't think focusing on those areas ever stops. I think we may change and shift our focuses during different courses of our lives. However, having that and building confidence into every facet of our being, particularly as men, particularly as healthy masculine men, I think it's imperative, not only for attraction dynamics, but for our own sense of self. And what feeds into that deeper is having that tribe that mirrors back to you, that reflects
Right.
back to you who you are. I wonder, I often ask this question, I don't know the answer, but I wonder if early humanoids, let's go back a couple of million years or a few 100,000 years ago, the earliest of our ancestors, I wonder if they had quote unquote self-worth issues because they
Mm,
were, I just don't know, because I think, we would have been that small group in that small tribe and everyone played a role. Everyone had a mastery, and maybe it was multiple masteries, but you were responsible for the survival of that group based on your mastery, and you would be reflected. You knew that if you were doing that, you were doing the best you could do. And so did you
right.
need to do more? You could do more, but you didn't have to. And that would be reflected back to you. Men are masterful with their hands, whether it's making weapons, whether it's setting the perimeter. This neurologically embeds itself into who we are today, in today's version and expression of
Right.
men. And so I just wonder if we were more in tribes, healthy tribes, I wonder if the self-worth issues that permeate and penetrate our society today would be far less.
Yeah, no, I love the evolutionary perspective. Love that you bring it up. I mean, I think the issues of self-worth and self-depreciation that the modern man faces are just annihilated in the face of, well, we got to build a shelter. There's a storm coming, or there's a tribe over there that wants to kill your mate. What are you going to do? Or there's an animal that's hunting you. It's like none of those issues are relevant. They don't even have the chance to be created because you're going to act or you're not, and you're going to move, and instinct and these deep evolutionary factors are really going to drive your experience, and you're going to build that unconscious competence, and
Mm,
that's why yeah, I long for the village, the resurrection of the village, the tribe
mm,
that is happening. It's we
mm,
go to these events, we're connected online, we have semblances of it, but I think as humanity goes into this decade, this century, this millennia, that's going to be a core return that we see, especially for men, because the isolated man has not served. A lot of this abuse and the toxicity and the shadow that is being revealed of the tyrant and of the patriarchy, whatever you want to call it. It was bred in isolation. An isolated man is a very dangerous animal, especially if he's not being met, he's not being checked on. And if there's these tendencies in the masculine psyche to want to provide, to want to create validity from the father, without the healthy version, we see the cultural landscape we see today. And
yeah.
I'm stoked to be along with you recreating context around that, and quickly.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, likewise,
Yeah.
brother. It really is an honor to be alongside other powerful men doing this deeper work on, firstly on myself, and secondly providing this for others as well. We all learn through our own experiences, and we learn through the experiences of others. It's either direct knowledge or indirect knowledge, and both have validity. And I feel the time for more direct knowledge is coming back into full circle. We have to start having more experiential experiences, more deliberate experiences that are involving our viscera, that are involving our soma, our bodies, that are involving our minds, our hearts, and other beings with us as well, particularly for men, other men, and bringing that back into our reality. Because I think that is ultimately going to help us up level and bring the next expression of global human consciousness into play.
Yes. Yes. Well said, brother. I mean, I'm about that life, and I know you are. And
Mm.
yeah, Steph, I'm curious for people, watching, listening now or later, what are you creating right now, and what is just stoking you in the beginning months of 2020?
Yeah, so man, I have a really strong focus on at the moment, a couple of things on the deep work that I'm doing on a one-on-one basis with individuals, and really building that out and spending some time there with that. I have an amazing program that I actually get to run with my queen called Be the Queen, and that's for
Mm,
single ladies that are wanting to attract and bring in their king, and really helping them connect to deeper levels of their own self-worth, their own knowing where they've come from and knowing where they want to go, but also giving them the tools to then really attract healthy counterparts, but also helping them understand men. We launched that in May again. We're just finishing now our first one, which had 60 ladies in there, super strong container, 3-month container, beautiful thing. I'm preparing for a men's event that I'll be putting together called Be the King. Super excited about that.
Nice.
It's just another version of my previous programs, The Conscious Man and Reclaim Your Kingdom. And again, this is for men really just wanting to up level all areas of their lives and connect to some of those parts of themselves that they haven't been able to, clear out the clutter of the past, the pain, the fears, the trauma, and really just get into a more solid version of themselves and place themselves in a position to really receive and give love and connect with other women on a really healthy, in a healthy way. I mean, besides that, man, I'm constantly just working on so many different elements of building the footprint, like a global footprint and imprint into the world, and refining my own. I spend as much time as I can learning, consistently learning and growing,
Yep.
and time in stillness, time in nature. These are priorities for me to just keep refining who I am, connecting to myself. I walk my talk. I never used to as much. I really do now because I get upset when I don't make enough time for myself. I
Totally.
get fucking frustrated.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that.
That's a big part of really the rest of my life, man. Is making and allocating experiential time and space for me and to explore the chasms of my own cosmos and the universe itself.
Yes, well said, brother. Well, if you all want to connect with Stefanos, he's tagged here on the stream and he'll be in the show notes of the podcast. So be sure to check that out. Whether you're a man or a woman, this brother's holding some codes as evidenced by this stream. And yeah, brother, I'm so excited to see you in person again, whenever that may be. I can't wait to give you a
Likewise.
big bear hug and yeah, get back
Likewise.
into the trenches with you. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe I'll be seeing you in and around Austin, Texas later this year.
For sure, man. I mean, I will be there March the 1st, and from March 1st, there'll be our permanent base. Yeah. If we can get
Awesome.
some sacred sons out there as well, that'll be cool.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
seed planted right there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, brother. Well, so much love to you. I can't wait to see you soon. It's been an honor, man.
Likewise, my brother. Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for watching. If you've been feeling this, hit the share button. We'll see you next time. Peace, familia.
Welcome to the revolution.
And this is the crucial part of our philosophical reflection we have today. Can we therefore conclude that humans are concerned more with having than being?
All right, family. Thanks for tuning in. What a powerhouse episode. I would love for you to check out Steph and his work. He's all tagged up here on social media. He has so many resources for you if you want to demystify some of the dating and dynamics around polarity and tantra and sacred sexuality, all the love blocks. The dude is a relational alchemist. He wears the mantle well. StefanosSifandos.com. You can check it out. And yeah, really grateful for Steph and his powerhouse wisdom. If you are digging these masculine themed episodes, I would invite you to check out Sacred Sons as well. Those guys are legends. I love them. I trust them. I've worked with them. That's my go-to resource for men's work. And you'll also love my new online course if you want the KO special, which is Masculine Mastery. It's 4 weeks, 4 archetypes, the intro level course for men and men's work, covering everything from business, sexuality, mind and body mastery and training, and perspectives to become a better king, warrior, magician, lover. 4 archetypes of the masculine psyche. So I'm really excited to deliver that soon. It's been a long time in the making. I want to invite you also to check out my newsletter. If you're not in this age of censorship, let's stay connected. Go to my website, kevinorris.com, and get on the newsletter. I would love to share the offerings I have directly with you there, because really the newsletter, email list, and podcast are the 2 places that are not censored yet. So this is really important that we keep the energy flowing. Don't give in to the fear right now around the world. Stay focused, stay on point, stay on target, stay aligned, let go, know how to surrender and relax, but also don't lose sight of your vision right now. And that can be anything. That can be your goals, your objectives, your relationships, your loved ones, your art, your practice, your song that you want to sing to the world. It's time to focus in on it, family. And I know you can feel it, because if you're like me, if you're listening to this podcast, it's not a coincidence, first off. Second off, the earth is evolving. The human species, humanity is evolving. And so it's time to be a part of that. I know you're going to do it. And I love you for doing it. Thank you. Thank you for doing it. Until next time, y'all.